I'd like to pose a few questions about book banning. In my county, the public schools have pulled over 50 books from school library shelves. And these include works by best-selling and award-winning authors like Margaret Atwood, Kurt Vonnegut, Margaret Atwood, and others. So what's going on? These books are going to be reviewed and considered for permanent removal using several standards, but mainly because of content describing sex or suggesting that gay and trans people are normal. And I'll just note that many of the authors are either women or people of color. So what's revealing about this move in our county? The removal and perhaps the eventual banning reveals a couple of things. First, it reveals that the conservative organization Moms for Liberty, which pushed for the removal and provided the list of books, has a powerful influence over our Board of Education and school superintendent. But second, and more important, it reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about how learning works. And I'm speaking now as a retired cognitive psychologist and always an advocate of giving students real liberty to read, combined with meaningful discussion of controversial ideas. Now, are the Moms for Liberty undermining their own stated goals? Here's a news flash. Learning cannot be corralled and restricted to only an approved body of ideas for very long. And students cannot be prevented from encountering ideas outside that corral that they find interesting for very long. By actually providing their list of 56 titles, the Moms for Liberty organization has helpfully informed students about books kids might find interesting. And there are lots of other ways to get hold of those books other than the school library. Now, what about the actual learning process that the Moms for Liberty are trying to control? Whether we're talking about kids or about adults, the learning process is going on all the time, not just in school, not just from books. We humans are built to pick up information continuously from many, many sources all around us, but primarily from other people, keeping some of it in our memories and discarding probably much more than we can retain. The obligation of schools is to provide good information for students to pick up. And by good, I mean accurate, reliable, relevant, useful, and relatable. Our kids live in a world where outside the school building, there's online video pornography. They at least know about it, and many are regular users of it, whether we like it or not. And most of us are very concerned. Kids' world also includes a staggering amount of media violence. both in the form of entertainment and in the form of news. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. And airtime has to be filled. And kids are addicted to their own adrenaline. They keep, you know, they get addicted to the video games that they use. If the Moms for Liberty were really interested in curbing potentially harmful influences on kids, they have missed the forest for a few trees. Kids spend a lot of time engaged with media that is potentially harmful, but they have not been observed flocking to the school libraries to obtain these 56 books. Draw your own conclusion about what the focus of adult supervision ought to be. Now, the Moms for Liberty claims to represent parents. So let's talk about parents for a minute. Many of our kids live in a world where they do not feel comfortable talking with their parents about things like the norms and ethics of sexual behavior, relationships, or retaliatory violence. I suspect that the Mom's list of books really represents the books that conservative parents do not feel comfortable discussing with their children. It's not that the kids are in danger from these books, it's that the parents feel uncomfortable. Of course, this discomfort and defensiveness on parents' part is a socio-emotional problem, but the Moms for Liberty are against socio-emotional education too. By forcing schools to remove books from libraries, the Moms for Liberty are shifting the responsibility for monitoring and engaging with their kids about what they read and what they watch. They're shifting responsibility from themselves to teachers and librarians. But then they also insist that the teachers and librarians do exactly what they say. Now, parents can't have it both ways. They're trying to, but they can't refuse to be responsible for discussing ideas and values with their kids, but also prohibit skilled educators from compensating for their failure. Now, is there something uniquely dangerous about these 56 books? I'll just say, to keep it brief, that all great literature contains edgy parts. In some ways, it is astonishing that the Moms for Liberty limited their list to just 56 books. I and many other people could give them thousands more. But as with the behavior of an embarrassing colleague or family member, I don't want to encourage them. So I'm not going to give them any more titles to add to their list. Let me talk about what real censorship looks like in the United States. I hesitate to mention this, but I think it has educational value in this context. Martin Luther King, who is the focus of a lot of my work and crossing over into psychology. Martin Luther King left us with a handful of books. And students find them inspiring and personally very helpful when they get a chance to read them. But these books were effectively censored 50 years ago by ignoring them. Even Stride Toward Freedom, Dr. King's first book, is personal account of the Montgomery bus boycott. And Stride Toward Freedom is the book in which he most directly talks about nonviolence as a strategy for solving difficult problems and as a way of life. That book was never adopted in public schools, and it was only rarely included on summer reading lists. Um, Effectively, school boards submerged Dr. King's writings, even though he had been responsible for some of the most important laws in American history and the extension of liberties, civil rights, and opportunities to millions of Americans. Students were not allowed to study that in schools. Here's what one of my college students wrote after learning about nonviolent social change in one of my courses. And I quote from the student: "I cannot believe that I did not learn about this in high school. I feel like this is an injustice to me," unquote. And this is a typical reaction. I have heard many other students express anger, disappointment, and resentment over important ideas and skills that were censored out of their curriculum through neglect during their school years. And granted, some of the things that they missed are controversial subjects, but the absence of them from the school curriculum, I think, reflects timidity of adults more than the actual importance of those subjects. Lies and important omissions cannot remain hidden forever. The Moms for Liberty, in my opinion, are setting themselves up to be laughing stocks to their own children when the kids are a little older. Here is the bottom line, at least from my perspective. Kids are intelligent. They can and do handle very disturbing topics all the time. But they need trust, sympathy, support, and intelligent discussion from the adults around them, not censorship based on the opinions of a minority of adults who will not carry out their responsibilities as parents. I'll be back soon with some more ideas.